Welcome back. It's been a while, but I've got a lot of great videos planned, and the first of which is talking about all of the amazing contracts that Palantir has actually gotten going towards the end of the third quarter. We are now into October 2nd as I record this, and Palantir is headed to report their Q3 earnings in a few weeks, and we have a slight indication on how strong the government business has been. I'll be getting into that in this video. Really, the most strength we've seen from the government business in terms of contracts being announced and signed since as long as I can remember, and Palantir has now been publicly listed for 2 years. So I just wanted to first remind you of when Palantir announced their Q2 earnings report. They talked about their Q3 outlook of revenues between 474 and 475 million and adjusted income of 55 million, leading to full year of 1.9 billion and adjusted income of 343 million. They said this revised guidance excludes any new major US government awards, and we believe this to be the base case. So basically, Palantir had a real rough time in Q2 in terms of being able to sign a lot of the government contracts that they potentially knew that were coming up in the pipeline, and thus the letdown in terms of their guidance and what actually got delivered. But now we are seeing a lot of these government contracts being signed. In the last few weeks alone, we've seen hundreds on hundreds of millions. So I have a list to share with you that compiles all of the contracts that we will be talking about in today's video. Thank you to Chris K on Twitter. So here we go. We're looking at the month of September and Palantir's contracts totaling $712 million for 1 month. There may be some double counting in here, was brought to my attention by Palantrillion JG. Thank you for that. It looks like there may be some double counting with this 470,000 and potentially this NIH of 2.5 million in terms of already being accounted for in this NIH 65 million. But let's go through these. And I just want to really prove how impressive this 700 million figure is, because if you annualize that, that is 8.5 billion annually in deal value. Now, of course, these are deals and they not necessarily will be executed upon to the full deal value, but to have this amount coming in the pipeline in just 1 month is stunning. So let's go through some of these. I just wanted to show you the full list up front. So we have Palantir signing, and this was September 20th, a $20 million deal with South Korea's Hyundai Heavy Industries, who they were already working with. So an extension of that deal, the 20 million over 5 years to expand its partnership with South Korea's Hyundai Heavy Industries Group, who is, of course, one of the world's largest shipbuilding conglomerates. Great to see that there. And then the Homeland Security Investigations renewing a partnership with Palantir for their case management software, the contract being worth $96 million over a 5-year period. So, of course, Palantir is not getting all of these contracts up front in terms of this being a 1-year deal or anything less than that. A lot of these are multi-year deals, which will sustain Palantir in terms of their government financials and really bring back a lot of that government growth for the near term and into the long term if they're able to continue to roll in these impressive contracts. Here's Chad Palantard sharing on Twitter, Palantir signing a new contract with NIH until 2025, as we mentioned that. And here's another one, Palantir awarded $43 million for AI ML research for the US Army. We know this is an extension of prior work. $43 million fixed price contract to conduct research and development services. The work will be performed in their Palo Alto office with an estimated completion date of 2023. The other project being Project Maven 2.0 by the Department of Defense, and this could be up to 229 million over 1 year. So unfortunately, I am stuck behind the paywall here, but we know Palantir was previously working on this Project Maven that Google had abandoned, but it looks like they are now extending their work there. And Google had left the project, but Palantir scooped it right up because this is exactly in their wheelhouse. So excited to hear more updates there. Palantir also awarded $59 million for their U.S. Army Intel Apps program, $59 million firm fixed price contract contract for the Intel Apps Acquisition Program and an estimated completion date of September 2027. So 5 years there. So I want to talk about what all of this means to get hundreds upon hundreds of millions of dollars in contracts in just 1 month for the government side, which has been slowing down a bit. This will spur up that growth going forward. I think this is just the prime time for government contracts to be signed, and that's why we see nearly $1 billion in contracts being signed in just 1 month. This is abnormal, but it's not like Palantir isn't growing and wouldn't be able to replicate this going forward. I just think there is some seasonality coming into play here. So what does this mean for the stock? Well, this is Palantir over ARK, ARKK, PLTR divided by ARKK gets us Palantir's relative strength in relation to the ARK investment flagship fund, which of course Palantir is no longer a part of, but that is a basket of stocks that Palantir trades fairly in line with, as you will see. Over here, Palantir has had moments of outperformance, underperformance, outperformance, as it goes. And we are in a relative period for Palantir of outperformance. Palantir appears to be towards that bottom of the range in terms of where the stock has been and has been outperforming the broader market. More recently, with the signing of these contracts, we haven't really seen a big effect on the stock, but when that big effect will come is in the Q3 or Q4 earnings, how impactful these numbers will be and whether they will drive EPS and so on, which I will have videos coming up to discuss that. But basically, I want to wrap this all up by talking about how this is a departure from some of the Doomsday Talk when the Q2 earnings came about, and many were doubting Alex Karp and what management was saying, but that's when Glazer had also talked about the lumpiness for their weak guidance was due to the lumpiness of the government work, but he was confident in the company's pipeline. And Karp had also said in that letter, we are working towards a future where all large institutions in the United States and its allies abroad are running significant segments of their operations, if not their entire operations as a whole, on Palantir. So what are we seeing here? We're seeing what they said on the Q2 earnings call, which was not replicated by the financials in Q2, but some of this is, as they're saying, they know the business the best. The CFO, Glazer, they're talking about what they know. Is they were saying, we don't rush to sign a contract. We want to, be in the right place and be able to deploy our work first and then get the paperwork and all of that we heard on prior earnings calls. And then to be able to understand that some of this lumpiness will happen, but ultimately the work is being done here, and we are now seeing that heading into the fourth quarter, which is great to see. So something else I wanted to bring up here is the work by Arnie and Emmanuel. Great work they're doing in terms of this Substack. I really enjoy it. I encourage you to subscribe, and I will leave a link for it in the description. They describe all of this as after a month of drought for Palantir's government business, the rain has arrived, a contract rain. And I think that's a very apt description. So amid the storm of geopolitical tensions, Palantir has been capitalizing. In 2 weeks, $600 million in contracts, the average length being 2 years, and the largest being the $229 million with the U.S. Army for 1 year. So here are some of the contracts visualized based in size and length of time. But what I really wanted to show you is all of the new contracts for the fiscal year of 2022 laid out plain and simple. The amount of work that Palantir has been doing, the contracts coming in is truly stunning, especially when you look at the seasonality here. It's just off the charts, literally. I want to go back to what is the stock doing? What is the stock not doing, right? Because wouldn't you think all of these contracts would be helping the stock soar? Well, if you look at the earnings, Palantir has underperformed the last 3 earnings reports. I think there's some current concerns about what is the, next earnings report going to look like in 7 weeks or so. And I think it's too early to start reflecting some of this into the stock price because we don't know how much of a short-term impact these types of contracts are going to be having on Palantir when it comes to the third quarter, but they'll definitely start to have an impact in the fourth quarter, and then we will go from there. I expect Palantir to follow the broader markets as you would expect. Growth stocks have been under pressure since February of 2021. They will continue to be under pressure until they aren't, right? So Palantir may show broader market strength in the market as a result of these contracts, or it might not. Ultimately, it's going to come down to their earnings report that will really pave the way for the stock. And of course, it has a high beta, so you can't expect it to significantly outperform in the treacherous macro environment. So hopefully this video was helpful. I wanted to really convey to you my feelings about all of these contracts, this is so impressive to see from Palantir. On the government side, I've been blown away. The reason I haven't made a video is because there have been new contracts every day leading into the end of the third quarter, and it just ultimately benefited me to wait and be able to give you the recap at the end of the quarter. So that's where I'll leave it. What do you think? I'll catch you in the next video. Until next time.